Hey everybody. Happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. Um, this is an intro I should have done on the Mother's Day episode as well. Didn't think about it, so it's in hindsight. So this one's kind of a near and dear episode. And now, those of you who know me know that I've lost my father about a decade ago, and so this is one where I'm just going to be going through my memories of him and I gaming together, as well as some of you who had their dads as their gaming buddy. So this one's dedicated to you all, and enjoy. What's up? Welcome back to Memory Lane. It's a little loud. That's a little loud. It's a little bit better. And this week's destination is a Father's Day special, gaming with Dad. Just like the Mother's Day episode, some of you, like myself, we had some gaming memories with our mothers. Well, it's Father's Day, so gaming memories with our fathers. Now, my dad. Now he was the one that got me into games, man. I remember being 3 years old. Yep, just three. Playing the Super Nintendo. And as a kid, I was like, whoa, it's cool. It's like I realized it was a game and it looked like out of flashy colors and it looked like a cartoon because, a lot of the Super Nintendo games look like cartoons. I'm a kid, so I like cartoons. And like, just the sounds and stuff. I was like, what is this? And I saw him doing this and with a controller and he handed me a controller. And it wasn't the typical, handing your kid or your younger brother or whatever the unplugged controller. No, it was plugged in, and he had me actually play the game. My very first time holding a video game controller, and that game wasn't necessarily a game that 3 year olds should play. Not because it was like really violent, because it's considered one of the hardest games on the system. And you just heard the music for it, and that was Contra 3: The Alien Wars. That was my very first video game, Contra 3. And of course I played some other games since then, because it's Super Nintendo and all that. But that was my first video game experience was Contra 3, one of the hardest games on the system. And from then till now, that's let's do my math here. 27 years ago? God, because I'm almost 30. So I'm rounding up to 27 years of gaming. And man, I tell you what, still to this day, Contra 3: The Alien Wars, that's my goat. That's my game, man. I have it on the Super Nintendo, the physical cartridge. I have it on the Super Nintendo Classic because it's on there. I have the Contra Anniversary Collection on the PS4. Like I consistently play this game because that's my jam, and my father was the one that introduced me to it. And we played other games together. Like I remember him and I played Killer Instinct on the Super Nintendo, uh, Mario. But him and we really bonded over video games once we got our hands on a PlayStation. Yep, the little gray box, the PlayStation 1. And that's where he introduced me to games like, of course, sports. Played a lot of sports games. I come from a big sports family. He was a big sports fan. Like he loved football and baseball and hockey and all that. Me, I'm a big hockey guy and wrestling, so I played all those games. But then we played Twisted Metal together. That was our jam. Uh, like the WWE wrestling games, Madden, football, MLB, baseball. We played a lot of that together. And then the PS2. We finally get our hands on a PS2, and that's where we really bonded. Now the PS2 is the game. Now see, the Super Nintendo was the system that kind of popped my video game cherry. Now, but the PS2 is what made me a gamer. That's what made me the big fucking nerd that I am now. And in my collection, it's the biggest collection I have because it's the biggest library. It's my favorite. That's where we really bonded over games. We played a lot of the WWE SmackDown games, all the SmackDown versus Raws. Of course, more Madden, MLB The Show, a little bit of NBA. We weren't big on basketball, but like we played a little bit of NBA. No soccer. We weren't big fans of soccer, unfortunately. So no FIFA, and that was it. We played. I believe can't remember what boxing game it was. I know it was Fight Night. I just can't remember exactly what it was, but we rented it at a Blockbuster. You guys remember? You guys remember Blockbuster? You guys remember renting that? Uh, that's gonna get an episode on this podcast sometime in the future. But yeah, I can't remember. But we played a little bit of that, and then a lot of sports games, a lot of wrestling. We played some other stuff together. Like we played a little bit of Grand Theft Auto. He wasn't too much into that. Uh, Not a whole lot in the platformer, so he didn't really play Ratchet and Clank or Sly Cooper or Jack and Daxter. Those are all my games. But boy, I tell you, he was real big in action games like shooters, like Call of Duty, um, stuff like that. But I tell you what, man, one of my biggest memories of him was his gamer rage. Now he wasn't. Now let me tell you this: some he wasn't necessarily a gaming nerd. Now he just liked to play on his leisure time. It's like, all right, well, I ain't got shit else to do. Let me turn this on and get a few innings in on MLB The Show. Like he wasn't a big gaming nerd. He just kind of had it as a pastime. Other than that, it's him and I would always play together a lot, and he did get rage. He had no fucking patience for anything. It wasn't just games; it was literally anything. If he had trouble getting a damn uh cap, if he had trouble taking the bottle cap off like a 2 liter bottle of soda, he would just say fuck it, cut the top off. So now it's a big giant open fucking uh 2 liter thick thing of soda, and he would just just pour it in there, put it in the fridge with some fucking foil on top of it, whatever. Like he didn't give a shit, man. That motherfucker liked to throw controllers, man. And he wondered where I got it from. When I was a kid, and I tell you something, I had gamer rage too. I had no patience because I threw controllers. That was my dad coming out in me because he threw controllers too. You know, uh, luckily I grew out of that because shit's getting expensive. And people with kids, if your kids are doing that, get them out of that quickly, man. That shit's costly. These controllers like $80 a piece now. That they're not fucking around. Don't have them break their shit. Don't have them break your shit either. But yeah, he would just throw controllers, man. I remember motherfucker got mad at Wii Sports. Of all fucking games to get mad at, he get mad at Wii Sports. He was playing, I think God, what was it? It was either the golf or the baseball. It was one of them. I want to say it was the baseball, and he lost. So he turns off the Wii because you can turn it off with the Wiimote. And the next thing I know, I see the Wiimote going flying across the living room into the kitchen. Like, fuck. He's like, man, fuck this game, man. It's just Wii Sports, man. Calm down. It's just made for kids. Fucking get so mad about it. Just play it again. Like Wii Sports gives you the option to try again to win. Oh, he just turned his shit off and threw it. Wrestling. He would get so pissed off at wrestling games too. Uh, Especially like when you do shit like the Royal Rumble, and you're wrestling, and the opponent always keeps reversing. And if you watched my playthrough of SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, you know what I mean about the reversals that the AI always does, because that shit was pissing me off too, man. And so he's doing a Royal Rumble. Fucking every move he tries to does get reversed. He gets over the top ropes. He gets eliminated, and then the controller goes flying across the room. You know, so that's my biggest gaming memory with him, is just watching him get mad. Dude, that shit was funny. Because he would get mad at the dumbest shit. Like like Wii Sports, like Wii Baseball, bro. Just play it again. I've gotten angry at games and stuff. Like see sports games, especially wrestling. Them games, them reversals will piss you off, dude. I tell you what. But I never got mad at Wii Sports. I never understood that one. PS3, we played some PS3 together. As matter of fact, that was his last console. When he passed away, the PS4 was like brand new. So like neither of us had a PS4 because this shit was still like $500, and we can't just, neither him or I, because when he passed away, I was fresh out of high school. Like I was in my very first semester of college, so I had no money, and he was in and out of work, so he had no money for a PS4, so we never got to experience a PS4 together. But we got to experience the PS3 a little bit. Again, more sports, more wrestling. Red Dead Redemption, that one. Battlefield, a little bit of Battlefield, a little bit of Call of Duty. Like he was into those shooters. Shooters and sports, it was his big jam. He didn't cut much care for platformers. He could care less for puzzle games. He could care even less about RPGs. It was just those sports and shooters. Games that kind of had that high intensity, games you can get excited about. So like he fooled around with horror games a little bit, but not too much. But he was big on those like fast paced, action based shooters like Call of Duty and Battlefield. Red Dead. He liked Red Dead. He preferred Red Dead over GTA. And then of course sports. We're a sports. He's a big sports guy, so that was kind of a given. But he wanted to go back to little me at the age of 3 playing Super Nintendo, growing up playing that. That was kind of the first video game system. Like, I didn't necessarily own it. Now, I still have my childhood Super Nintendo. I'm looking at it right now. Like, it's starting to turn yellow a little bit. You know how them old consoles would turn like a piss color yellow? Mine's slowly starting to turn that, but it still works. Still works. And, like, it wasn't mine. We didn't buy it. I believe it was a hand-me-down from my uncle, and then the PS1, I believe that was also a hand-me-down. So I want to say the PS2 was the first console that was bought, that we bought, and had it in the house. Of course, he bought it because he had the money for it, and we finally had it in the house, and we were playing. Here comes the pain, and shut your mouth, and the first SmackDown versus Raw. So it's like, and that was cool. That was cool. Anybody out there also play games with their dads, man? Like, what was your gaming experience like with him? Did your dad have fucking crazy gamer rage like mine did? You know, did he just not give a shit about games? Was he the type of guy to like not play the games, but he loved watching them? You know, my grandmother's that way. She never played games, but she likes watching it because it's a video game, so it's a little bit more exciting than what you see on TV. But he played when he wanted to. We played, especially when I got to high school and the PS3, played a lot of NHL. I'm a big hockey head, so I grew up playing hockey. I played hockey on video games, played hockey in real life, watched hockey on TV. It was a given for me. So we played a lot of NHL, a lot of Madden. He was big into football. I wasn't too much. I'm not super big into football. Like I don't hate it. You know what I'm saying? Like I tolerate it. It just wasn't too much of my jam. But the Madden games are fun. My personal favorite is Madden 2008. Madden 2004 being a close second. Uh, and then Madden 25. Not Madden 25 as in 2025. Madden 25, like the 25th anniversary. It came out on the PS3, uh, Xbox 360, and I think it also came out on the Xbox One and PS4. That's where Madden. Well, I think Madden kind of. I just don't like how it controlled in more modern ones for some reason. I just like how, because even with like '08 and those stuff, like it's real players, real names, real fields, real teams. You know what I'm saying? But it still felt like arcadey. It still felt like it was an arcade kind of game. You can play with it and have fun. They try to make the shit a little too realistic. Like it just doesn't feel like a game now. That's kind of why I backed out of Madden. NHL, on the other hand, I kind of like how they integrated all the controls and all the buttons on the controller for a player to do something. Just like you see in a real hockey game versus like the older hockey games like 2001, 2000, 2002. Where it was just like grab the puck, shoot it. That was it. But uh, we played a lot of. Well, I want to say like a lot of games. Like there wasn't a ton of variety. Like if he bought a new game or if I bought a new one, we check it out, look at it. There was a there was a game that I had gotten. I want to say it was The Last of Us on the PS3 when the game first came out. Okay, not one of the fucking 5 million re-releases it had. The original Last of Us on the PS3. That was one he was really into because, like I said, he wasn't big into horror games, but like he liked the action shooters. So like, if there was a game that where you shoot monsters and zombies, okay, well he was into that because I believe he had Call of Duty Ghosts on the PS3. I believe he had that. I can't remember what flipping games he had. For the systems, for the consoles that he owned for himself, at least when I was in high school, he owned a PS3 and he owned a Wii. And he mostly had a Wii because he was married at the time and his wife had children of her own and they were children, so they were kids. So the Wii was mostly for them, with their Wii Sports, you know, Just Dance, all those games where you can have fun with the motion controls. Mario, you can't have a Nintendo system without Mario. But he was all about the PS3, so he kids are playing Wii Sports and he's in there playing Call of Duty or Red Dead or Battlefield. I think Battlefield Hardline was the one he had. Uh, and then there's me in the other room playing whatever, because I would, my parents split a long time ago, so I was at his house on the weekends, and then I was at home during the week. So on the weekends, I'll bring whatever system I was in the mood for, which at the time it was either my PS2, PS3, or my Nintendo DS. And so, I was big in Pokemon back then, so I played a lot of that. But I played a lot of PS3. You know, there was a game that he was somewhat interested in, but I guess he didn't like the way it controlled because it's a little too intricate, and that was Infamous. Infamous on the PS3. Now that's a killer game. I love that game. He wasn't feeling it too much. He liked the action based. He liked that. But there were some games. Prototype was another one. Prototype reminds me so much of Infamous, but it's a different power that the guy had. But those two games, like those were games he didn't much care to play because how they controlled and how intricate and complex it was. Like you had to hold this button and move this thumbstick and push this button to do this. You know, in some cases, like to have this power to do this skill or to beat this boss or whatever. It's like that was a game he didn't much care to play, but he loved to watch it because it was intense. I mean, there were intense games. If anybody played Infamous or Prototype on the PS3 or 360, I think Prototype was also on the 360. Like they can be intense clusterfuck games, man. I beat both of them, and I feel like I should get a reward or a medal or something for that shit. But like he wasn't entirely big into those like busy like games, like open worlds. Like he liked Red Dead Redemption, but he wasn't big in those open worlds. Like I said, he wasn't big into GTA. You know, so I think the only GTA him and I played together was GTA San Andreas. But, like we never really played Vice City together or GTA 5 or 4. I think GTA San Andreas, and he just didn't much care for it. He liked the soundtracks. He liked the music those games had. But yeah, you know, Super Nintendo. Like we started with Contra, and that's why I put the music in the beginning here because that's just kind of what that was my gateway drug right there. That's my gateway drug. Okay, now I'm hooked. Now I need to get high off it. So here I am with my dose of Contra. Once the PlayStation came in, the Super Nintendo was mostly a game that my uncle and I played together a lot, and my dad and I played PlayStation One. Like I said, we played Twisted Metal 2 to be specific, um, which is one of the best in the series. We would also play Twisted Metal Small Brawl together. Anybody remember that one? That's gonna get an episode sometime in the future. Twisted Metal Small Brawl was Twisted Metal, but instead of these deranged adults in these vehicles, they were children and they were using RC cars. So, like, okay, let's say Twisted Metal. The most recognizable person on Twisted Metal is Sweet Tooth. Okay, a killer clown with a flaming head in an ice cream truck. That was his thing. But in Twisted Metal Small Brawl was a clown kid with a flaming head in an ice cream truck RC car. So they were RC remote control cars. So it was Small Brawl. It was smaller. and it was just in different levels. It was a fun game. I like that one. Him and I played that one together a lot. Twisted Metal 3. Yeah, Twisted Metal 3. We played a little bit. Not a ton of, but we played a little bit of that. WWF Warzone. We played. Let me tell you something. That's gonna get an episode 2, but that was probably one of the worst WWE. Well, now it's WWE. Back then it was WWF. Wrestling games I've ever played. Man, that shit sucked. But I have it in my collection, and I still play it because of nostalgia. Not good by any means, but and I think we also had WWF Attitude, which I want to say I can't remember if it came out before or after Warzone did, but that game was just as ass. That game was just as ass as the Warzone was. And we played a little bit of that. Didn't much care for it though. But as a kid, I thought it was cool to play as my favorite guys. But once we got a PS2, we start playing some real wrestling, like Just Bring It, Shut Your Mouth, Here Comes the Pain, all the SmackDown versus Raws. Oh, we were hooked because though that was flawless right there. Those were great games, great simulations, great whatever. Oh, speaking of simulations, The Sims, the first Sims game that came out in like 2002, I think, on the PS2. He would play that one a lot too, and so would I. I like that one. It's a nice little calm and collective game until your character decides to throw fucking fit because they're tired, but they won't go to bed. That was a good one. We played that. That was a fun one. He played that one quite a bit. Him and my mom played that one together a lot. Uh, him and I not so much, but he would play that with her quite a bit, especially when it was brand new and it came out. They played it. Uh, I'm still trying to think which fight night it was. Like maybe round one or round two, whatever the first fight night was on the PS2. That was the one we played. Oh, and you know what else on the PS1? I can't remember. Either we rented it or it was like we borrowed it from like a family friend. It was Simpsons Wrestling. Not the best games, but it was cool because I knew what the Simpsons were. Shit, everybody knows what the Simpsons are. But Simpsons Wrestling, we played on the PS1 because it's the Simpsons and it's wrestling, two things I am familiar with. So I was like, okay, but I can't remember if we borrowed it from someone or if we rented it. I can't remember, but I remember having that one briefly. Oh, the backyard wrestling games. Yeah, anybody remember backyard wrestling? Both of them, one and two on the PS2. Now, me and my cousin, we played that one a lot too, but my dad played a little bit of it because there were some people he recognized, and of course it's wrestling and it's in a backyard and it's fun. You know, it's not realistic wrestling whatsoever. You can't just tackle somebody from a roof of a house through a picnic table and just get up like nothing happened. But that was a fun one to have. When it comes to PC, he didn't play any computer games. He could care less about computer. He was not a computer person whatsoever. This shit was foreign to him. Okay, he didn't much care for computers. He'll hop on and watch YouTube every once in a while. Then once he got a phone that he can go on YouTube with, a smartphone, that computer started collecting dust unless he needed to do it for any online shit, which is very rare. He could care less for PCs and computers. Oh, he did play some mobile games. I remember him. He would play Angry Birds a lot when that shit came out, and I did too. I did too. Angry Birds took over the world when that shit came out, and I remember that dude getting mad at that too because he kept. And it was frustrating sometimes. Some of these levels, of course, Angry Birds. You have these different kind of birds, and you have this slingshot. You slingshot the birds across the screen over to take out these pigs, these green pigs, and they're surrounded by some type of obstruction, whether it be like platforms and construction sites and all that stuff. Maybe it's like a castle and there's bricks or whatever. Like there was different obstacles you had to get through to destroy these pigs. But if you run out of birds and you haven't taken care of all the pigs, well, you lost the level and you have to start over. And that's the shit that would make him mad was starting over. And of course, you play Angry Birds. Next thing I know, I hear boom. boom, boom. That was his phone going across the damn floor. All right, motherfucker would throw his phone. It's, like I said, motherfuckers just get mad at the easy shit. You know, like I'm kind of happy I grew out of that. I'm not gonna get. Now I get a little annoyed, but I'm not gonna throw shit, man. Shit's too expensive. I ain't throwing nothing no more. I'll throw a fit. That's about it. Those are free. It's but unfortunately, the time together was cut short. He passed away back in 2015, just a week before Christmas, and so he never got to experience the PS4. Um, he didn't much care for Xbox, so he didn't really play a whole lot of Xbox. He played Madden on the Xbox because that's probably the only one he could, understand. But he didn't really much care for the Xbox. He never got to experience any other Nintendo system outside the Wii because anything after that he was already passed on. The Wii U was brand new, so that was still kind of pricey. PS4 was brand new, so that was expensive. And he wasn't gonna get an Xbox One, But I think like I think he would have been cool with the PS4. It's got some titles and some remasters and stuff. Like The Last of Us and Call of Duty and whatnot. The Switch, Nintendo Switch, I think he would have been cool with that. How you can plug it in and play it on the TV or take it with you on the go and continue where you left off. Like I think he would have got a kick out of the Switch, man. I do. I love the shit out of my Switch. But, unfortunately, it's been this December will be 11 years since he's passed. And so I want to make this episode just like the Mother's Day, not only to pay homage to our parents, but also to like and not just also to acknowledge what the day is, Mother's Day and Father's Day, but also just kind of bring those memories back because I know for some of us Father's Day hasn't really meant a whole lot anymore. Or even Mother's Day at some point, So for those of you who, still have your parents, that's great. For those of you who still game with your parents, and that's great, and if, for those of you who grew up and, and your dad or your mom was your gaming buddy and you have these memories, like that's great. Keep those memories, man. Keep those memories. This was uh this was a video, not a video, an episode of this podcast that I was kind of pushing back and forth on because I don't know how I was going to be. I don't know if I was going to get emotional, if I was just going to go straight forward. No, I think I did all right. Like these are happy thoughts. You know what I'm saying? So, shout out to all you dads who currently right now playing with your kids, whether it's your daughter or your son, it don't matter. They're going to remember that. That's kind of like the first bonding experience. Him and I bonded over games first, and then sports, and then it just went from there. So it may just seem cool now to play with your kids, but trust me, they think it's much cooler. That's a memory they're gonna keep with them. And if you and your dad did that, obviously you kept that memory. And if you didn't, then you wouldn't be listening to this episode. At least I think you wouldn't. And if you are, thank you for the support. Uh Happy Father's Day, man. Be sure to keep up with me. Follow the podcast. I'm getting close to the 300 downloads. That's pretty cool, man. I've been at this thing for 6 months now. I started in December, like a week and a half before Christmas. So we're officially at the 6 week mark and 6 month mark, and almost got 300 downloads and getting a lot of love over on Spotify and Apple Podcast and YouTube. Those are like the kind of the top three right now for like all the traffic for the podcast here. So that's cool. That's awesome. You guys are loving what I'm doing. Keep that up because I'm liking it too. YouTube, man, follow my YouTube. I'm so close to 100 subscribers, man. You know, I think I'm at 98, so I'm just two away. So if you're a new listener or if you're a returning listener and you haven't subscribed to my YouTube, please do so. Over there, you can find my Let's Plays, and you can also find access to my podcast because I put the podcast on there as well. But I have some series going on there on my YouTube. So like I just finished up Batman Arkham Asylum. I got SmackDown Here Comes the Pain up there. Super Mario World on a Super Nintendo. You know, and I got some more coming, man. I'm having a lot of fun with this. Having a lot of fun with this. I feel like what I'm having fun with this the most is I can be myself. Be sure to follow my socials: Facebook, Instagram, and Reddit. Uh, Gaming Memory Lane and Kevin Gill Gaming. All my sources have the same profile picture, so you know at the right place. All that stuff. I don't think I've ever said this, but everything is going to be in the description. So there'll be links that you can. I don't know if it lets you click on it, but you can definitely copy and paste the links, and it take you directly to the homepage of everything: my YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, you name it. And anyways, y'all, I'm out.